ね。行きたい場所を言ってくれ。そうね。
What's up, everyone, and welcome to Save the Game Media's review of One Piece Odyssey.
So much energy right now, Kevin, and you. That's the most
I'm
energy I've ever heard.
I'm excited. I love One Piece, and I am joined by Ethan, who, because of this game, is getting into One Piece. Things are happening. Ethan, how you doing, buddy?
I've always wanted to get into One Piece, Kevin. It's just a daunting task, right? There's only 5 trillion other animes out there that are trying to get my attention, right? People won't shut up in my life about Naruto, all right? People are talking about that. One Piece has always been there, though. I have a really good friend in the Navy who binge watched One Piece in 1 year. It took her the entire year.
I did it in a summer.
That's crazy. You must have done absolutely nothing else.
I literally it was my last summer of doing my master's degree, and I would just sit there and I would binge watch One Piece, and then I would write some papers, binge watch One Piece, write some papers, binge watch One Piece. Like that is the trend, and I got through all of it. There was a point where I was watching the dubbed, the Funimation dubbed, because I do like the voices of the Funimation dubbed. And then I got so far that they hadn't dubbed the episodes. So I went and had to switch. I think it's around the Thriller. I think it's around Thriller Park is where it happens. But I had to switch to sub. And let me tell you, Luffy's voice really caught me off guard at first when I switched to sub. I was like, who are you? What's going on here? But no, I just watch sub. I've accepted it at this point.
That's what I'm starting off with.
Like 800 episodes later, I'm like, this is where we're at. This is just One Piece. So.
But yeah, I am getting into it now, watching the anime, playing through this game. I spent almost 50 hours in this world, so that was a blast. We're going to talk all about it. Also, rocking a new jacket that I got for Christmas for the first time on the show, or on any show. Looks good. I'm one hood away, though. If this were to disappear, I'd look like a North Korean dictator right now. So, like, if it just had collars, I'd look like one of the Oons. But, you know, I'm good. I got the hoodie, so I'm looking fresh. I like it.
It's a snazzy jacket. Jacket.
Yeah,
for sure.
Don't know what brand it is, but whatever.
As I said, this is a Save the Game Media review discussion and spoiler cast. I will give everyone a warning before we jump into spoilers. The first half or whatever we do is going to be completely spoiler free, just our thoughts about the game. We're going to try to do more of these this year, so keep an eye out of games that multiple people around Save the Game Media are playing. We're going to hop on, do a review discussion, spoiler cast for those games. Ethan and I are kicking it off 2023 with One Piece Odyssey. Before we get into the actual review, I want to thank our patrons over at patreon.com/SaveTheGameMedia. If you want all of our content, early access, or our exclusive bonus content, head on over there. Choose the tier that's right for you, just like our current Patreon supporters. Thank you to Bucky Blue, Hopple, Alpaca Tom, Amon, Fabulous Brianna, Brianna's mom, Brianna's brother, Brianna's wife, Anna Hudak, Nikolai at Night, Cypher, Primus, Brendan Myers, Marcus O'Neill, Lillian, Mimi J, The Snack Network, David Hotright, and our newest patron, Dave Harp. Thank you for your support. We appreciate every single one of you. But Ethan, I think it's time. We've given him a little taste. Time to talk about One Piece Odyssey, and I wanna start off
on
with
an adventure, Kevin.
Oh yes, we're going places, all right. Because I wanted to ask, what was your familiarity with One Piece before you jumped into the game, and we kind of already touched on that. So I guess we can talk about what were your overall impressions of One Piece Odyssey.
I mean, overall impressions was that it is an extremely fun game. It has good combat. It has some unique things that I have never experienced in JRPGs before, especially turn-based JRPGs, that made it a lot easier for me to get into. Specifically, the fast forwarding feature in the combat, and I'm sure we'll talk about that later, how great of a feature that is. But the characters were great. The environments were colorful and fun to explore. There are some downsides, which I don't want to get too crazy into yet. Again, we're going to have more of an in-depth discussion on the downsides. There was some feeling of it being rushed on the back end. There were some egregious just running around fetch quests kind of stuff going on, which we'll get into. But overall, I would say my impressions are very high for this game. I ended this game really sad that I wasn't going to spend any more time in this world, I will say. And that's the hallmark of a great game for me, that I enjoy being in that world and spending time with those characters. It was really tough for me to leave those characters behind, but got 1,000 episodes to hang out with them again, Kevin. But in terms of my familiarity with the series before playing this, obviously I am a fan of anime. I just never have gotten into One Piece, but you can't be a fan of anime without knowing what One Piece is. So I'm aware of the characters. I'm aware of like Monkey D. Luffy. I'm aware of Zoro, of Nami, of Usopp, like the core four, I'd say, that are first introduced. I'm not necessarily aware of Chopper or Frankie or who's the skeleton guy?
Brooke.
Brooke or Robin or any of these other characters that are sort of ancillary. I don't want to say ancillary because I'm sure they're huge characters in the anime, and I just haven't got to them yet. They're probably main characters, but characters you don't see until later in the anime. So it was really nice to be able to get to know all those characters and realize I love these guys just as much as the original ones that I'm familiar with. So I'm so excited to watch this anime and actually get to meet them organically and actually see their stories play out and the bonds between this team sort of form. So exciting for me to jump into this, but this game really gave me that first taste, I think, of exciting One Piece content, and it sucked me into this world.
Can I just point out, you didn't name my favorite Straw Hat, Sanji. You left Sanji
I
out
don't know
of
how
your
I leave
title,
Sanji out.
and
I love
was like,
Sanji too.
What's going
Named
on
them
here?
all.
Sanji is amazing. So
He's funny. I love him.
my overall impressions, I was super excited for this game from the moment it was revealed. And then the more I learned about it, I was like, this looks like a game for me. The fact that it was a turn-based JRPG, they seem to have a lot of love. You know, they had an original story coming from the creator of One Piece. And so I was like, okay, this looks like it has potential. And then you saw some gameplay reveals. I was like, this is Dragon Quest. This looks like Dragon Quest. But the more what I want to say about that is I didn't like Dragon Quest 11 that much. I thought it was very cumbersome. It took too long. That was one of my main criticisms. Dragon Quest 11, way too long. So I was a little worried. Luckily to say, One Piece Odyssey not nearly as long. You can roll credits about 30 hours, I would say, and then you can wrap. You
Probably
can probably
less than that.
yeah, probably less than that, depending on how
25.
much side content you do. But then you do have the side content where you can get probably 30 to 40-ish
Or
hours.
close to 50, like me.
More close to 50. Yeah, depending on what you're doing. But
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this game. You know, reviews came out. They were okay, 7s out of 10s. And I was like, this is better than most of the warrior style One Piece game reviews that we've seen come out, like a Pirate or a World Seeker. Those types of games never really appealed to me. So I was fully in. I got this. I played the demo and I was like, this is a game that, like, I can tell they nailed the Straw Hat crew from the start. Like, you had the character interactions between Zoro and Sanji and how they're always button heads. You had Nami always wanting treasure, and they incorporate that into when you're walking around, and it's like, oh, I know there's a treasure chest over there. Like, we gotta go get it. I'm like, that's what Nami would do. Very good world design, character design. The story I actually really enjoyed, and we can talk more about that in this. We'll give an overview, but then the spoiler. I actually thought that this game came together very well. Like I said, there were some issues, primarily with some pacing in certain sections, but overall, I would recommend this game to anyone. Even like, you're not a JRPG guy and you loved it. If you're a One Piece fan, this is a game for you. If you love JRPGs, you love One Piece, you will have an amazing time, because one thing I loved is, despite being an original story, there are so many callbacks and throwbacks to the anime.
Right.
And it's like, man, I had to go onto YouTube and I was watching clips and like reliving the glory days, because that's what this game got me. It remembering all the amazing times I've had watching One Piece throughout the years. And I was just like, this game is special to me. It might not be special to everyone, but I really love this game.
Yeah, even as somebody from the outside looking in who hasn't watched the anime yet, I could tell there were moments and meeting different characters in this game that aren't part of your crew, but you meet them throughout your adventures that are a big part of the journey that the Straw Hat Pirates have taken throughout their lives. And I can tell they have huge impact going back to these memories and seeing them reminisce about, oh my goodness, do you remember the last time we were in Alabasta? And they talk about their adventures there. And then they meet some characters that they had met before in their adventures. And you can tell there's a lot of that emotional impact. But going back to what you said about it being a 7 out of 10s and a lot of 6 or 7s out of 10s, I think it's important to point out that this game, I don't think necessarily reinvented the wheel in terms of
Hmm.
the JRPG experience. I think what it did though is capture the essence of such a great um anime that had such great characters, and they did such a great job in translating that and paying homage to the anime and actually being faithful to what the anime is and who these characters are. I think that's what makes this game great for me.
Yeah.
Even like I said, as someone that doesn't have as much of a connection to these characters as maybe you do, by the time I left this game, I had a connection with these characters because they were done so well.
I will say that I feel like the developers almost felt like there were too many characters to give all of them justice.
Right.
And I say this because you are given the entire Straw Hat crew right off the bat, except for Brooke and Frankie.
Yep.
Right, those are the two that you will come later on, and they have story reasons for that. But in my view, like it took way too long for Brooke to join the party. Basically, the end of the game.
By the time those two joined the party, it's like I don't even want to use them because I have all my stuff on my other characters and I'm used to using them. Like
Mhm.
you
It's like
don't
you
you don't
already
ever
had your
want to use.
strategies
Right.
and your ideal party form. So I felt like those two kind of got shafted a little bit personally. And at the beginning of the game, I felt like Robin was getting shafted because she would
Yeah.
constantly leave the party, and I was like, this sucks because listen, I love Nami, but Robin, I really, really love Robin as a character. She is one of my favorite Straw Hats. I wanted more of her, and I get why they had to do it for story reasons,
Right.
but that was just something that kind of disappointed me. Made me feel like made me feel like they didn't treat everyone as equal because obviously you have Luffy is the main character of One Piece, right? Like
Right.
he's like Goku, but everyone else in the Straw Hat crew is super important, and they've
Hmm.
made that feeling during the anime. Like there are times in the anime where the entire crew isn't together and you still get like focus on every crew member because everyone's doing something. It's not just like, oh well,
Right.
they're not with Luffy right now, we don't really care about them, it's not that feeling. And that's my a small critique right off from the design standpoint.
So if you're mainlining this game and you're not playing a lot of the side content, I 100% agree with you. There are characters that seem to get completely steamrolled in this, and I think that's the majority of the people that are going to play this game. They're going to see that. But I will tell you, there are some side contents. For example, they're not realm tears. I'm thinking of
Oh,
God of
afraid
War.
frayed memories.
Frayed memories. There are frayed memories in which you go to in this game. Throughout the different worlds that you visit, there are frayed memories, and the whole team kind of touches them. And certain members will go in, and it'll be
Yep.
weird pairings. It'll be like Frankie, Luffy, and Chopper, or it'll be Zoro, Usopp, and Nami, or it'll
Mhm.
just be like a kind of random grouping of three of them. And each of those frayed memories sort of have specific stories to those characters that kind of showcase them. Like I remember one in Dressrosa. Am I saying that
Mhm.
city right?
Yeah.
That was pretty centered on Brooke because it had to do with a lost violin from a musician, a little girl musician. And it was a very touching moment between this small little girl musician and Brooke, bonding over that violin and everything. So there are moments in this game where every character gets their focus. But yes, I would say throughout the main storyline, Robin, Brooke, and Frankie are almost nowhere to be found. The vast majority of the game, you won't have them in your party, it feels like. And by the time you do get them consistently in your party, you already have your main squad together. For me personally, it was Luffy, Zoro, Nami, and Chopper. Those were my four that
Wow,
I kept in my
okay.
squad. Chopper was my tank where I did a lot of the buff spells and everything. He had heal, he had cure. I put a TP auto regen necklace on him that basically made it so he didn't run out of TP, which for any of you that don't know, it's basically mana in this game
Do do you
for
mean
like special attacks.
tank? Do you mean tank as in like he could tank hits?
No, no, I meant healer. I don't know why I
Healer. Okay.
said
I was
tank.
like
Yeah.
I was like
No,
what
Luffy was
did
my
you
tank.
I was like, what did you do to
Luffy
spec
was like my tank.
Chopper?
There's no way to like get aggro or anything, so it's not like a tank in a trip. But Luffy had a ton of health and he hit really hard.
Yeah.
That was kind of like my whole setup.
Well, let's talk about the gameplay then, because you mentioned your ideal party, and it's very different to my ideal party, to be honest with you. I would say my ideal party that I was rocking was Luffy, Sanji, Zoro, and Robin. So
Robin, really?
yes, I didn't have majority of the time, unless the situation called for it. I didn't have Usopp or Nami in the part. Like
Hmm.
those were the four I primarily wanted, but I would switch them out as the situation called for. Because what I love about this game, and for anyone that doesn't know, it's a turn-based JRPG, but I think the battle system is super unique in One Piece Odyssey because
Hmm.
instead of just the normal like, you're all in one line and you just take turns battling each other, they have essentially zones, and each character gets thrown into a zone at the start of the match. And some battles, the enemies won't be in a character zone. So Luffy could be having four bats for let's say, and Sanji could be completely free. Now you can move your characters that are free into other zones to help out the other characters. You can swap at will the zones. So you can be like, hey, my character needs to fight. Luffy needs to fight these guys over here, so I'm gonna switch him with Nami, and you can do that with people on your bench that aren't in your main party at the time. So it's really fluid. It doesn't take a turn to switch, which I think is a fantastic design choice.
Oh yeah.
And then what they've done is they've implemented essentially Fire Emblem's triangle system, which for those don't know, in Fire Emblem you have axes, lances, and swords, and they go in a triangle shape, like one beats one beats the other. So there's always a weakness, and they've done that with the One Piece. So you have power, speed, and technique. So technique beats power, I believe, and then power beats speed, and speed beats technique. I think
Yeah,
that's what
I
it
think you're
is.
right. Yeah.
I believe that's what it was. So you have that triangle system, and each straw hat falls into a different category. So Luffy, Sanji, and Chopper are your power characters. Frankie, Nami, and Usopp are your speed characters, which I thought was
Hmm.
super weird for Frankie to be a speed character. And
Yeah.
then Robin, Zoro, and Brooke were your technique characters, which I
No,
think
Zoro's speed.
no,
Usopp's
Zoro,
the other technique.
nah, Zoro's technique. Zoro's green.
Oh, I'm thinking speed is green. I was
No,
thinking speed is green. I'm going
nah.
crazy here.
Yeah, yeah. So those are your ones that you have to, and the enemies will have weaknesses to that. So you got to mix
Hmm.
and match them, which I think is awesome. This is a super unique battle system, in my opinion, and it's really what like kept me engaged. And I know Ethan, you're not the JRPG guy, so what do you think coming into this battle system?
Obviously, really worried at first because any turn-based game I go into, I'm like, when is this going to turn into a slog for me? That's my main concern. Is I can start out and I'm like, okay, I like what I'm seeing. There's some cool moves. There's some cool technique that I got to use to do some cool strategy. But eventually, for me, most turn-based games turn into a complete and utter slog because I'm just bored with it. I'm like, all right, I'm just hitting A over and over and
Hmm.
over again to do this combat because I've learned everything there is to learn. One Piece kept giving you new stuff, I feel like, and new characters to be able to use to fight with, new enemies to face. There was a lot of great enemy variety in this game, by the way. That's something I do want to highlight. Throughout the entire game, the enemies you face don't get stale. Every single different dungeon has different enemies. Every single world you go to has different enemies. And then even as you get farther in the game, areas you've been to before get different types of enemies that are more high leveled or high powered and everything like that. So even when you're going through a dungeon and doing a lot of mob battles or anything, it feels cool because you're like, okay, who am I going to face this time? Oh, it's a banana gator, four golden bats, and this toy soldier guy. Like, oh, there's so many different types of enemies that I get to face and different loot and XP, that you can get. And that's really cool. I really love this combat system. Like, too, because it threw stuff at you. It gave you different challenges throughout the battle. So every once in a while, you'd start a battle, be like, "Oh, you need to clear Luffy's area," and you get double XP and more loot. And you're like, "Okay,
Hmm.
cool. We're gonna focus on Luffy's area." Or it'll say Golden Bat A is powering up. It's about to do a really powerful attack. Get him in 2 turns, and you get double XP. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, now I get to focus on." It kept it fresh. It kept it exciting. It kept me on my toes so that I wasn't constantly just mashing A. Thirdly, what I loved about this combat is just how many different types of cool moves all these characters had and how they all had their own unique animations.
Hmm.
Okay, that's really important to me. Now, obviously, there were a couple moves near the end game where I would spam them because they were just my go-to moves. I think Luffy had like a Gear 4 King Kong gun move that hit everyone on the field, and I was doing like 40k damage a hit, and I'm like, I'm just gonna spam this for the rest of the game and basically dominate. But it was cool, for the majority of the game, just going between the different characters and using a ton of their different move sets and using all the food items that you get, the healing items. There was just a lot in this combat system, and it didn't feel complicated, but it felt like there was just so much I could
Mhm.
tap into and enjoy with it.
Yeah. So I think normally in JRPGs, I don't know what it is, but I try not to use items. Like I have a aversion to using items in this
That's any
game.
game for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. In this game, not an issue because I
Yes.
felt like, oh, Sanji's my cook. He's made me things to help me in battle. Usopp he's my engineer type person. He's made all these balls that are going to help me in boss
The
fights. So
trick
I
balls.
was
Yeah.
constantly using items to get the advantage in battle. Like there were items where you could switch the weakness of the boss. Like,
Hmm.
oh, he's a speed, let's switch him to technique so then I can wreck him with the characters I have available.
Yep.
I thought it was super awesome. Really, really well done. And I love those little I forget what they were called, but those moments you're talking about where it's like you get the double XP for doing certain
Right.
things. I would farm those, and that's how
Oh yeah.
I was getting so many level ups just because you could do them at bosses too.
Hmm.
And most of them were beat with Luffy or whatever to mimic the anime, which I thought was really great. But
Yeah.
then instead of like 200,000, you'd be like, here's 580,000 or something, like some crazy number. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you want 4 levels at once? Like, here you go. And I'm like, this is great. It makes you feel rewarded for going out of your way to do stuff. Like, I could have
Absolutely.
killed him last turn. I went out of my way not to do that and do it the way you wanted me to do it. That was really, really cool. Outside of the battling, a lot of the game is walking around the overworld, talking to people, getting quests,
Hmm.
advancing the story, which here is where I think if they were going to do a sequel needs the most improvement in terms of gameplay because there were multiple instances where I would go to start the next main quest and then be told, "Oh, well, I don't have it. It's over here." And then instead of being able to fast travel, even though I've unlocked fast travel, they make me walk to the next area. So you're just going back from point A, point B, point C, and like no real battling, no real advancement in anything meaningful. A lot of just go talk to this person because we're trying to almost pad out the runtime, it felt like.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on this point. I When you're first going through an area, I felt okay because there's tons of items in the open world that you can grab, a lot of chests to find, a lot of
Hmm.
these power up cubes that you use to make your the special moves that you use more powerful. There's a lot
Yeah.
of little things to discover, people to talk to, side quests to do and everything. But yeah, when you're doing the main storyline and that all kind of gets shut off to you, and you have to focus on your main quest line, it can get tedious running around the overworld. I won't say it's throughout the entire game. I'd say there are a lot of moments that are fine, like going through a lot of the dungeons is fine because you're consistently fighting enemies or finding loot and stuff like that, or progressing in the story. But there are maybe 3 or 4 egregious examples of this. One specifically is when you're on Waford, which is the kind of new island that they introduce in this game. I'm not going to give any spoilers on what Waford is, but you're there. It's a brand new island in this game, and you come back after one of the chapters, and you have to find another character, an item that a character had lost.
Hmm.
And basically, you run back and forth on Wofford, clear across the island, back and forth. I'd say 4 or 5 times. It felt
Yeah.
like, and just for dialogue, just for cutscenes, that honestly didn't have that much impact, or at least didn't feel like it had a lot of impact because I was glossed over
Yeah.
because all I've been doing is running and trying to avoid combat because I just want to get through this and move on to the next chapter. There are a few really egregious, even at the end of the game when I was trying to finish the game, when you're about to,
Yes.
I'm like, I gotta run all the way back here to finish the game. Like, just let me end this and roll credits. But no, there are a couple of egregious examples. They need to tighten that up. I don't know if it was padding. I don't know if it was just, we have to rush this out the door because our publisher is on our ass or what. Bandai Namco is bothering us. Who knows? But it's pretty bad in some
Having
in some areas.
having played Dragon Quest, because the team that worked on Dragon Quest is the team that worked on this game as well. Well, people that were on the Dragon Quest team. Obviously, Dragon Quest is Square, so it's not the Dragon Quest team. You know,
Right.
the
It's like
developers.
Callisto Protocol.
Yes,
Dead
exactly,
Space guys
exactly.
worked on that. Yeah.
Dragon Quest loved doing that as well. They loved the slow walk, it like prodding you along. So I think it might just be an inherent issue. I think they did it a little too much in One Piece Odyssey for me. The part you're talking about is the most egregious, I think. The other one is probably right at the beginning of chapter 2, when you first arrive in your first memory. That one was a little egregious too. But
That one's
there,
tough.
yeah, apart from that, I can live with, like, I never found myself being like, oh man, like I don't want to play this game right now. It's more like I want to get to the next impactful moment.
Oh yeah,
like
because
the
I'm
thing that
excited
actually
about what
matters.
comes next.
Yeah,
It's
and
not
this,
like, ugh.
yeah, this isn't exciting. I know we're gonna get back to like the awesome stuff that's going
Right.
on. So, if we want to, you brief touch, we're gonna talk about the, still non spoilers, the story though. A brief overview. So, essentially, what the story is the Straw Hats end up on this island, Wofford, after a storm knocks their ship over there, and then while they're exploring the island, trying to figure out what's happening, they run into a monster. I'm gonna say, I'm not gonna tell it, like a
A
monster.
monster. Yeah.
They fight the monster, and then they're saved by this man named Audio, however you want to say
A
him.
deal.
Adio, yeah. And Lim, Lynn, right? Her name's Lynn. Is it
Limb
Lim or Lim? Okay, I
with
was
an
right the
M.
first time.
Yeah,
Lim,
you were
yes,
right the
okay.
first time. Believe in
Um,
yourself.
and Lim essentially takes the Straw Hats' powers away. She touches all of them, and their power gets turned into cubes. And this is what Ethan was alluding to. So they've turned the story into a gameplay element where, as you're going through the island, you're going through the memories, you will see these cubes that you have to collect, and then you insert the cubes into your character as an upgrade system. So most of the moves, I should say, has the ability to be upgraded a certain amount of times. It'll increase the power that it does. It'll make your character stronger. I think that was really cool. I loved doing that because then I could focus on the moves that I'm constantly using. Like Gum Gum Gatling was
Right. Yeah.
broken in my game.
Broken.
So
The
broken.
first half of the game, it's broken.
Yeah. I was like, Luffy, I know you got other moves, man, but like also Gum Gum Gatling is
Gum
right
Gum
there.
Gatling,
Yeah. Apart from that, you also have the equipment system, which we can talk about. Then I'll get back, because the story is essentially you're gonna go back through your old memories of different arcs from the anime to reclaim your power and then get off the island. That is essentially the story of the like it's nothing. We'll talk about more in spoilers, but the equipment system, Ethan, for the gameplay, I actually liked this equipment system. It's one of those, you have a box, and then each equipment item takes up a certain number of squares in the box, and you can expand the box. So what I found was the best thing for me were the long 4 pieces, and then I would just have like 5 of them stacked around, and I would fuse in a bunch of attack things, a bunch of TP things, just constantly powering up my characters. But I did find late into the game, I ran out of things to fuse them with. Like I just had purples.
Oh, you just had to go to the Yoisa that sold them and just buy a bunch of them.
Let's see.
Because
I
I
don't
had
buy
there was
things in
attack plus 301
JRPGs.
crowns. There was attack
Yes,
301 crowns.
I got a bunch
like
of
30
those.
of them. I bought like
Yeah.
30 of them and just started jacking all my shit. But I will say this is a mechanic that drives me up a wall in video games when I have to like min max stuff, whether it be trinkets or whatever. I'm not very great at it. I don't have the patience for it. I can eventually figure it out if I have to, if the game forces me to. And this game sort of does force you to do that.
It does.
Especially late game, you want to have some really good trinkets on. That's the only reason I was able to get 40k, per hit with Luffy, was because I had basically nothing but attack stuff on him. It was crazy, his build. But what this game is great, Kevin, why this game is great with this system is because they give you an auto generate for trinkets. Above all the list of trinkets you have, you can click on like I forget what it's called, but it's basically just an automatic generator for giving a character trinkets, and then it gives you a drop down menu on what trait you want to focus on. So you can go attack, defense, HP, TP regen, any of the different stuff in this game, or balance. You can do balanced as well. That kind of gives you an assortment of everything, and it would autofill all your trinkets and help you do that. Now it wouldn't fuse trinkets like you can later in the game. You learn how to fuse trinkets and sort of buff the more powerful trinkets that you have with lesser trinkets that you have. But the autofill thing was great for me. That's the only way. I couldn't imagine me sitting down and looking through 9 different characters and trying to min max all the trinkets with them. I would have gone insane. So I basically auto gen everybody, and it was wonderful because I didn't have to deal with it, and it really helped me out with the combat.
That's funny because I remember you talking about like some early game difficulties with some bosses, and I was like,
Because I
well,
wasn't using trinkets.
did you put equipment out? You're like, no. I'm like, did you put the cubes in? You're like, no. And I was like, all right, well, you need to go do that. And
I hate it.
it is there is a point where after every chapter, if you don't basically go upgrade your equipment, then you're going to struggle into the next. So I found that very quickly,
Yeah.
especially towards the end, where I was like, okay, I gotta go to camp. I gotta start beefing up my characters with some attack stuff.
This game forces you to use every mechanic that it offers you. And I
Yeah.
think that's something really cool about this game. A lot of games don't do that. We've seen that in a lot of the Forspoken reviews that have just been coming out. That Greg Miller specifically, I was listening to it today, and he said you could essentially just run past every enemy and just mainline the bosses and be done in this game in 15 hours. You could ignore everything going on in the world. This game is the polar opposite of that. You do not ignore the things going on. You do not ignore any mechanics in this game. Each one really helps you, and each one is really fun. Or they give you an option to streamline it if you don't think it's fun. That's so amazing to me. Like the fast forwarding during combat is another example of that. It's a very well crafted game. I think it's a very well rounded game.
Fully agree. Fully agree. And I feel like you were incentivized to fight enemies.
Yes.
I do think that I had like 20 million berries, and I was like, I have nothing to spend this on.
You
Like
don't have the achievement, Kevin.
I
I
know,
checked.
I'm
I'm
close to
sorry.
20 million. I'm close
Close
to
to
20
20
million.
million.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
had like almost like 60 billion by the time I left the world. Yeah, a
Jesus.
lot of the side content, it gets a little ridiculous how much money you can
Did
get,
you get the
especially with
100%?
bounties. No, I got every bounty, every realm tear. Again, I forget the memory tear or whatever. I got like 99% of the side quests, but I didn't get the Yaya cubes.
Oh, you need a
I'm never
video
gonna get the
guide for
Yaya
you know
cubes.
what I
I'm not doing it. It's not worth
when
it.
so I thought the Yaya cubes were a random drop, right?
I did too. So I wasn't
No,
like
they're only in certain boxes,
specific.
and the boxes respawn. So I don't know which ones I've broke. Like if they
Yep.
didn't respawn, like maybe so like the only way I'm ever getting that is to look at a guide and then actually have to go every single
Yeah.
place, which is like, oh my god, it's at least
Yeah.
3 hours of my life right there.
Before we go into spoiler section, I will give a quick shout out to any completionists out there. I made a good faith effort. There are just some achievements on here that if you're not focusing them from the start of this game, it's going to be a complete slog to get them afterwards.
Which one besides the Yaya cubes were you
Um,
struggling with? Because the
It's not
Yaya,
necessarily a struggle, it's more just tedious. Like,
okay,
for example, some of your characters throughout the overworld can find hidden objects. Sanji can find
yep,
like rare ingredients. Nami can
fish, yeah,
find, Nami can
money.
find money. And Robin can find like archaeological stuff or like different
Hmm.
information. Each one of those features is tied to an achievement. So if you're just ignoring Nami and Sanji as you're going through the overworld when they're talking and telling you that something's nearby, you're going to have to go back and basically just run through all the cities again to get those achievements, which I did for Nami and Sanji. I didn't do it for Robin because at that point I'm like, all right, I'm tapped out. I'm just going to get out of here and do the final chapter before I get burnt out. But you make sure, folks, if you're trying to complete this, be prepared to spend a lot of hours in it. You're going to have to use guides and you have to be focusing on these achievements from the start of the game, or else
I
they're going to get into a slog.
I got Sanji's pretty early on in the game, because I was focusing on it, and I would just switch to him and walk around as him. But
Yeah.
then every time I wanted to use Nami or Robin, it was like, oh, Robin left the party, not or like I had to switch to Luffy to like
Right. Yeah.
get through the dungeon. I was like, oh my god, you're making
That
this a frustration.
That's a mechanic actually real quick if we want to touch on that I didn't enjoy was there are parts in the overworld where you have to switch characters. You have to switch to Usopp to shoot down items that are sitting on a wall, where you have to switch to Chopper to go into a tight space. Every time you switch the character, it would have to fade to black screen.
Yeah,
Then it would have to unfade, and then you would have to do your thing. Then you'd have to switch your character, it'd fade to black screen. It'd fade back. It was tedious. It was annoying. If it was more streamlined, I think it would have been cooler, but it was just really, really, it got on my nerves after a while.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I'd like to see that better streamlined if they do
or
a
just
follow up to the game.
taken out. I don't know.
Also, could you walk around as Frankie and Brooke? Because I never,
I never tried.
they didn't show up on my list, so I just assumed you couldn't.
Oh, I never even made an attempt to.
Oh, all right.
I
Well,
was always Luffy.
anything else before we dive into the spoiler section? I think we've covered just about everything. The gameplay here is king for me. I like the story, but the gameplay really smashes out of the park. So,
For me, characters are king. That's the
mm,
big part of this game for me. I got really connected to these characters
well, I look forward to listening to you talk about One Piece
for the
for
next 8 years.
8 years. Yeah. But this is your warning. We're going to give you a few seconds. If you have not played the game, we're going to go talk spoilers now. So you have a few seconds
Peace.
to click off the video. Make sure to drop that subscribe and like before you leave, though, because we're about to dive into the One Piece Odyssey
And come
spoiler
back when you
cast
finish the
portion.
game.
For sure. Yes, absolutely. So that is your warning. We are now in full spoiler territory. Ethan, the Straw Hats wash up on Wofford. They get their powers taken, and then they dive back through their memories. Firstly, Alabasta. All right,
Alabasta.
that is the first one to go to. And let me tell you, you spend quite a while in
You
Alabasta,
do.
especially in comparison to the rest of the game. I have no idea why they made this
It was
arc
so big.
so long.
And what's funny, as you move throughout the rest of the game, you realize just how big Alabasta was. You're
Mhm.
looking back, or anytime you have to go back for a side quest or something, you're like, "Whoa, I did all of this. This is nuts."
I remember playing because it's chapter 2, right? Like you beat the first Colossi, and then it's like, oh, we
Yep,
gotta go into the memories because that's the pattern of this game. You beat a island Colossi memory, island Colossi memory. That is
right.
essentially, and the dungeons on the island are fine. They're
They're pretty
good.
fun. I like them.
Yeah, they weren't. Listen, I've played much worse dungeons in JRPGs. At least there were
I'm
some
sure.
puzzles in this one. All right, there's some things to do, but I think the highlight for me are the arcs you go through. So Alabasta, you start very early in the Alabasta arc. Like you have just arrived at Alabasta. The war hasn't kicked off yet. And instead of like in my mind, we were gonna jump in and like, okay, we're gonna be at Alaberna. We're gonna go kick the crap out of Crocodile. Nah, nah, nah. We gotta do everything leading up to it first. And I'm sitting here like 13 hours and I'm like, there's no way that this game has 9 chapters and it's going to take me 10. Like this is 100-hour game then, and people are telling me they beat it in 30. What am I doing wrong here? And then you realize as you go on, every arc is a lot shorter. But
Progressively gets
Alabasta,
shorter, yeah.
what it, Alabasta follows. I think Alabasta might be in this game my the least accurate portrayal of what happens.
Okay.
Because in the anime, you it blows like the there's this whole thing in the anime, all right? Like instead of like the tower, like a bomb getting put in the clock tower here, we stop that like immediately, right? And
Right.
then you don't really have a lot of like the big key points. And I felt like, okay, I get they know what's gonna happen, but I would have still liked to seen that go down, especially because they do it for other arcs. But the crocodile fight, they kept very accurate, especially the
Mhm.
ending, because that's how it ends in the anime. Luffy punches him through the ceiling, and that's
Oh, really?
awesome. Yeah. It's
That's
dope.
funny.
So you haven't got to the Alabasta anime part. What did you
No,
think of
not even close.
what did you think of this game section though?
I loved it. I loved this area, and that could be the bias coming through of I love playing in game settings that are in desert areas,
Mm,
whether it be the Middle East or North Africa or southern Spain in ancient times. Like anything that's in a desert, I freaking love. And I think the environment here was really fun to just play around in. But I love the story here, and the more I played it, I'm like, man, this place is so big, and it got me excited for the rest of the game because I figured that, like you did, the rest of this game is going to be this big. I don't want to say I was disappointed when I played in the later chapters because they weren't that big. Because yeah, there is still a lot of content in it. But it was just like Oh, I figured everything else would be as big as Alabasta, but I loved it. I loved the story. I loved the crabs that you get to ride from place
Oh
to place.
yeah.
Eventually, they did not unlock fast travel quick enough in this game.
No,
You
yeah.
basically go through all of Alabasta without any form of fast travel, and then you get it, I think, near the end of Alabasta, or maybe into the next arc. I don't even remember. But overall, really cool environment, cool characters, really fun quest lines, really cool enemies that you get to fight out in the dunes. Lots of areas to explore, especially the big sandy desert, the Great Sand Desert, or whatever they call it. Tons of loot to find out there, tons of little secret areas to find, tons of chests, and it was just a really well done environment to just explore around in. And I gotta wonder if they just put a lot of work into this one and then realized
Mhm.
after they were done developing it, like, we can't do that with everywhere else,
Yeah,
you know?
that's kind of the impression I got because like it was so much bigger than everywhere else, and like they told more of the story instead of just throwing you in near the end of the conflict. And
Right.
I thought this one was interesting because they made Robin leave the party because at this
Yep.
point in the anime, Robin is an antagonist. She is working with Crocodile.
Hmm.
Not you'll find out more, but essentially, so she was like, "I
Yeah,
gotta
there's some
disappear."
tension. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, "I gotta disappear. It wouldn't make sense for me to show up with you guys, even if it is a memory world." Vivi, I would have liked to see more of because she is one of like like she's a fan favorite character. I
Yeah, she
love her.
seemed really important, but like
Yes,
they didn't showcase her a lot. It was mostly just a couple times you would hit her with dialogue and then she would go off and do her thing while you guys went off and did your thing type of
yeah,
deal.
she got kidnapped by the fake
Yep.
Marines, and then she in the anime she has this very emotional speech where she stands on top of like and screams to like for everyone to stop fighting and
Yeah.
because Luffy and they kind of did it. They kind of cheaped out on it, but Luffy basically tells her in the anime like people die, grow up, like you need like because she's
Luffy
like
says that?
yeah, not in so many words, but like she's like crying and she's like, I just don't want people to like die. And Luffy kind of goes like tells her he's like, this is the real like people are gonna die. But like he's very much like I'm gonna go kick the crap out of Crocodile, like
Yep.
try to stop the war, which they do. So I felt like there wasn't the impact because when you watch this arc in the anime, the ending and the scenes are a lot more impactful. So at that point, I was like, okay, they didn't really they retold the arc, but they didn't really spoil it until they give you that little flashback. And it was like, this is what happened. And I was like, okay. Um, so I was fine with the Alabasta arc. It didn't hit me as hard as the anime arc, but then you go back to the Colossi, and then next is Water 7, right?
Water 7, yep.
Which gotta tell you, Ethan, love Water 7.
Water 7 City's fun.
I love this town in the game. It's so much fun to navigate. It's so much fun to
Yep.
be in. I just love the world. And
It felt
they
alive. Like, this
yes.
world, especially Water 7 City, felt more lived in than a lot of big AAA title cities do. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of other JRPGs, especially. There was, like, little what do they call them? Little horse boat
Oh, I can't
guys,
remember the
turtle
names of
guys,
them. Yeah.
but they're floating up and down the canals. There's people walking around, people talking and chatting. Like, it just feels like a very alive world, and it's very colorful and exciting to be in.
Yeah. Water 7 is an arc where you fall in love with Robin. She that this is her arc. She's the starring role essentially because she gets kidnapped by the CP9, which is the Lucci people. That we only fight Rob Lucci in. Well, no, we fight what's his name, the giraffe dude.
Oh, the
There's
giraffe dude. Yep.
there's a whole other like there's more members to that gang. I don't know why they only did those two. Maybe it's for timing because fighting like all whatever of them would have been frustrating because in the anime like every straw hat takes down one of the members.
Oh,
So it's
really?
yeah, like Zoro goes and takes down one of them by his own, but here it was
That's
very
cool.
much like Rob Lucci's the only one that matters.
Mhm.
Um because they're going to execute Robin essentially is the thing. So I
Mhm.
would have liked to see like if there was any point in the game for Robin to leave the party, this is probably the point because like having her kidnapped again would have been like okay, now we're recreating it. Now we have to go save her again.
Right.
Instead she's just with you and you're like okay, we're going to take her down. And I was like okay, but they substitute Robin with Frankie and Usopp, right? Like Memory
Yep.
Frankie and Usopp get kidnapped in the memory, and I was like, okay, I get what they're doing here. This is a little play. Now we have to go save them,
Yep.
but it's a lot less impactful because, and I like. You can tell me to stop spoiling the anime, by the way, if I'm
No,
if I'm like
go for
rooting
it. I'm
you.
gonna forget about it because again, that's
Okay.
probably like 8,000 episodes in or something. You know.
So, because in the anime, Robin is like, I don't care if I die. Like, she's very much like, okay, it's fine if they kill me. And the Straw Hats are like, no, we're not going to let that happen.
Right.
So they show up to Ennie's lobby, which we go to in this game. Which is like, okay, it's a fine little area, it's a fine little dungeon, but they declare war on the world government there. It's a very impactful, like they burn the Marine flag, everyone freaks out, and then they basically are convinced like Robin, tell us you want to live, and she like breaks down crying and screams like, I don't want to die, and then Luffy's like, all right, we're gonna go save you. So it's a whole thing. So again, they didn't have that here, so it didn't really have the hit for me where I was like, this is such an awesome arc in the anime, and I get what they're doing here, but again, didn't really translate it well for me.
So I think this is a good point to make sure we all remember that technically you're not in Alabasta, you're not in Water 7 City, you're not in you're in Memoria, which is sort
Yes.
of the collective memories of all of the Straw Hat pirates sort of put together as one. That's what the Realm Tears are these sort of some of the pirates maybe don't remember it as well and they think differently of it, so you have to go through and fix that. But that's how they get away with sort of trying to change up the storyline from the anime. I could tell that was what they were doing. Obviously, I have no reference, so I didn't know if anything was different or not. But at the beginning, Lim's very clear, like this isn't going to be a perfect recreation of what you went through. So I think that's how they justify a lot of these differences to what the anime did.
Yeah. No, and I get that. It's just for me, I was like, okay, I really love these two arcs, and I don't like if you just had this game to go off of, and we're like, I'm
Right.
not gonna go watch the anime, you could be like, okay, well, this isn't like you don't get the impact by just playing this
Of
game.
course.
I
Yeah.
think is my main point. That said, I think the boss, like when you're battling in Memoria, right? Like I'll beat the boss, and then they did the electrified thing that you have to fight him again, but stronger.
Yep.
And I was like, are we gonna do this every time? Like, really? Like I should
Yeah.
kick your ass again?
I was hoping that wasn't a feature that stuck throughout the entire game, and I'm pretty sure it didn't. I can't remember if it
It
did.
did. It
Did
did.
it? For like the
Yeah.
big bosses at the end of each
Yeah,
chapter.
yeah.
There was a lot of bosses you face up to them, but they never do that.
Yeah. Um, the next arc was Marineford,
Yep.
which
went by in a blink of an eye.
chef's kiss, perfection. Marineford might be one of the best parts of the anime, Ethan.
Oh,
because in the anime, it's only Luffy. Straw Hats are not there. I won't tell you why that is. You'll get there eventually, but like it's just Luffy
Okay.
going to save Ace. So it was very different this time, where it was like, hey, we're all here and we're gonna save Ace. And then I loved this area, one, because it was back to back to back to back to back to back fights.
Nothing but fights. Yeah.
Nothing but fights.
It was a slobber knocker.
And because I knew the area was in the game before we played, and I was sitting here like we played the other two areas, and I'm like, how are we gonna do Marineford? There's no like they don't go anywhere. It's at one location, and then I was like, this is a good implementation of it, and the fact that it was pretty similar to the actual anime, like the fights you do, like you fight Marines, and then you fight the admiral, you fight
Three
Smoker,
admirals.
you fight the admirals. I'm like, when I don't know, you probably don't have this, like, but when I see the admirals, because in the anime they're like the big, like they're gonna mess you up, right?
Yeah.
When you see them, the Straw Hats are like, we should go the other way. But
Oh,
so
really?
what,
They run away from them?
well, they've lost every time they fight the admirals.
Really? Wow.
Yes. So when I saw them, I was like, they expect me to beat the admiral? Like, in what world? And then you do take them down, and I was like, okay, I guess this is what we're going for. But this is where this portion of the game is where I think they introduce. I wouldn't say they introduced it, but like Ace is part of your party for a little bit, right?
Yep.
Like he joins for some battles. I would have loved, and maybe they can do it in a sequel or something, if those characters could be controlled. If they
Like
were
temporary teammates.
yes, and maybe it's like in a sequel you get more of a rotating cast instead of just the Straw Hats, because in the next chapter we'll talk about, there were also characters where it's like I want to play as these characters. I want to use them.
And they gave them like different move sets and everything. You could tell the AI was cycling through different special moves that characters like Ace or Audio, when he's in your party, would use. And they don't always use the move you want them to use, because eventually you get used to their move set and you're like, please just do that one attack so that we can win this, or else I'm gonna die. And then they don't do it and you died. You have to restart. That's happened a couple times. But it's really cool attacks. They clearly spent some time working on those characters and giving them a move set. Yeah, it would have been cool to control them a little bit.
Yeah, Audio didn't really he only did two attacks for me. I think he
He
did
did,
the
I think he
the
did
hand one
the
where he
defense buff
defense
one,
buff, and then
then he did the
Tempesta.
all attack. Yeah, and then he did two different types of regular attacks, like two different animations, I think.
I don't know if I ever saw those ones.
Oh.
But Ace did quite a few. Like he had that big fireball he would do. He had
That's
the
the one I liked, the fireball.
yeah, it was dope.
It's like, just do that every time, dude.
Jimbei was here. This is, you probably have no idea who Jimbei is yet. You will.
Yeah.
Spoiler. He joins the Straw Hats.
Was he the giant guy with no neck?
He's the blue fish man.
The blue
fish
fish
karate
man.
guy that was in Marineford
Yeah.
with you. Yeah.
Okay.
He which is weird because it tells me when this game takes place in the anime, because he hasn't joined the crew yet. Like he's a part of the Straw Hats.
Okay.
And he's awesome. He's awesome. I would have loved to play as them, as like a little nod to be like, hey, we know in the anime he's part of the crew, but like we're not that far yet, so here you go. Like I don't know when this game was probably developed years before. Like he probably hadn't joined when they started making the game. Marineford plays out just like it does in the anime, unfortunately. And let me tell you, if you want to cry, that's the seat. That's what you're gonna do it. All right.
I could tell that was a very emotional moment, and like me not having any attachment to Ace, even I was like, that's rough. Like watching Luffy go through all of his emotions when that happened, I'm like, one, this is going to make me cry when I watch the anime. Two, this is going to make anyone who's attached to the anime cry, because I think they did this scene well in terms of emotional impact for me. I don't know how well they did it compared to the anime. I'm sure the anime is better, but this scene had a lot of it. It was the score, it was the demeanor of Luffy, the dialogue of both of them going back and forth, what Ace was saying. I mean, it was very, very emotionally impactful and crazy to see. I was like, the whole time I'm like, I should be crying right now, but I don't know who the fuck this guy is. So I know he's the brother, clearly he looks like him, but like I don't have an
it's funny you say that, because they're brothers but they're not related.
They look alike.
No, they're not blood brothers.
Same with the other guy that they say they're brothers with later on down the road.
Also not blood brothers.
That's crazy. Then why'd they make them look alike like that?
they're packed brothers. I think Sabo says that
Yeah.
brothers for life.
Right.
One thing I didn't. There's a big part of Marineford which involves the Whitebeard and Blackbeard pirates, and they were completely absent from this arc in the game, which I found strange, because Ace was a Whitebeard pirate. Like that's
There's some mention of them in like some lore that you can read, but that's really the only. I remember reading about Blackbeard in it.
Yeah. I that was my only critique of this section. I was like, where are they? Like we missed the whole like that's Ace's crew. Like that's where he comes from. So like otherwise it's like Ace popped up in Alabasta randomly and then he is here, and that's really all you get from it. Well, I shouldn't say that's all you get from Ace, because as you know, it's not all you get from Ace apparently. If you do
No, there's like a secret area you can go to. Was it Dressrosa that I went to? I don't know. I was on a balcony farming stuff, like trying to look for loot, and all of a sudden Ace just appeared, and there was like a really big heart to heart between him and Luffy, and he was clearly manipulating the powers of limb somehow. I don't know. It was like the power of friendship came through and was able to break through Memoria. I don't know what happened, but it was like a fourth wall breaking moment with what the overarching narrative was. Like that basically Memoria was just this fake world, but Ace definitely came in and talked to Luffy, and there was some emotional, dialogue between them. I can't remember what it was because again, I don't have crazy attachment to this character yet, so I wasn't like hinging on his every word. But it seemed like a very touching moment that a fan of the anime will want to go out and find.
Mhm. You'll learn to love Ace. Don't worry.
I can't wait.
You'll learn to
Yeah,
love him. And then the last section we go to before, and in between this, we're doing the dungeons, like I said. So the last area we go to
yeah.
is Dressrosa, which is
Mhm.
Doflamingo's arc. And this one
I loved him.
they throw you right in at the end of this. Like
Yeah,
they kind of explain like, oh yeah, like Usopp took down this person who everybody was turned into puppets at one. Like they skip the
Usopp God.
entirety of this arc and just throw you in. Oh, we're gonna go punch Doflamingo in the face, right?
Yeah, I had
Um,
no context of why everyone was like worshiping Usopp here. I'm like, what did Usopp do of all people? And like, there's a side quest arc that's actually really funny. I don't know if you did it. It's there's 3 different quests where you have to basically help people that praise him and treat him like a god. And every time you help them, after you're done with the first quest, you get a bronze statue of Usopp
oh,
in the city. And then if you do the second one, it's a silver statue. And then after you do the third one, it's a gold statue of
oh, that's
Usopp.
amazing.
It's so funny.
That's amazing. This is another one where I wish we could have gotten a little more anime tie-in. Like you have Rebecca, who fan service out the wazoo for that. Like
Wow,
what?
yeah.
We,
I thought Nami was bad. My wife looked at him, she was like, "Whoa, what are they doing there?" I
I
was
was
like, "I
thinking,
don't
I was
know."
like playing. I forget if it was like video where I was watching or something. It was like tips for playing One Piece Odyssey. Don't play this in front of other people. And it was
This ain't
like,
a living room game, folks. I'm sorry.
yeah, literally. I don't like. I get that was her outfit in the anime. To be fair, but
Oh,
like
okay.
she could have changed. Like I don't know. It was very fan servicey. Anyway, Rebecca's a major part of this arc. I wish we had more of her showing up. Like she's very much a peripheral figure.
Yeah, she
Um,
just kind of stuck with the party. There was some dialogue, and then she would show up in the cutscenes. She never did any battles. I was expecting her to be an AI companion that would at least help me out in battles. No, she just kind of stuck around and did nothing.
Yeah, you get introduced to Sabo, who is awesome. He's an amazing character. You don't really get much of his backstory, and I'm not gonna spoil it for you. You can he's Luffy's other brother, and you'll figure out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll meet him. You get what Cabbage? I forget his real name. Luffy calls him Cabbage. He's the swordsman with the hat, the pretty boy. Cadenza or something. I forget his name.
I can't remember.
Chat. I don't know. He calls him Cabbage. It was the other AI you got in the story.
In the comments below, let us know.
Yeah, yeah. But you get introduction of one of my favorite characters in the anime, and that's Trafalgar Law. I love
Oh, yeah.
Law. He is so
Cavendish, by the way.
Cavendish. Thank you. He is
Yep.
Law is so cool, and this is where this is one of the reasons I was like, they need to make these characters playable in the next game. I want to be able to use his abilities, especially because I think he has such an awesome he has an awesome devil fruit power because his is like he can manipulate things within a space, which is why he says room and then it makes like a area and then he can manipulate things in there so he can teleport them between each other. He can cut your body parts off and reattach them to other parts.
Oh,
Like
Lord.
yeah, he could do some awesome stuff, and that's why I wanted to play as him. But again, his arc very much tied to Doflamingo. Like this is where him and Luffy kind of like team up, and you got some of that in this, which I think was great. They did play one of the most impactful, and they kind of did it. And you might not know this, but so when Doflamingo goes to kill Law in this game, it's completely right out of the anime. He tries to do the same thing where he tries to step on him and just crush him with his foot. And in the
Yeah.
anime, Luffy sticks his foot and stops him from doing it. And in
Oh,
this
okay.
one, when I saw that other boot, I was like, that's not Luffy's foot. And then it was the guy that raised Corazon. It was Doflamingo's brother. And I was like, what is happening here? So it was very like this again, completely just changing and giving an alternate thing of how
Right.
the anime went. But
Yeah.
what'd you think of Doflamingo?
Cool character. I really liked this fight. I feel like I feel like a lot of people might find it annoying. You basically have to fight. I think it's like 2 clones of him, because he has the clone fruit or whatever you want to call it, right? And then you have to fight him, his main character. After I think you go back into a dungeon if I'm remembering correctly, and then you get to fight him again at the top of like this tower. But very cool character. Really fun fights. I was pretty high level at this point, so the fight wasn't too difficult for me. But yeah, overall, again, an arc full of characters that I could tell there was a lot of emotional impact that I really didn't have any connection to or understand. I feel like you do have to be like a fairly caught up One Piece fan to fully
Yes.
enjoy this game. Even for me though, being someone who never watched the anime, I still enjoyed it. But I feel like there were a lot of moments where I'm like, this seems like it's really important, or it seems like I should be crying right now. I had a lot of those moments.
Dressrosa is one that is actually a significant portion further in the anime than the rest of these.
Okay.
It because this is after the time skip and like all this other like this is a big jump forward.
Hmm.
So that was interesting to see for me. I'm glad that they gave you some of the newer arc, but it is very much like if you are not caught up, you will be completely
Yeah.
out of the loop
I
for
do
this one.
like Law. I did like Law as a character, though. I really enjoyed his character, his dialogue, his banter, his move sets, all that stuff. Law was a really cool character. He's the only one out of the whole group that you meet during this arc that really stuck out to me. The only one that I really remembered. So
Yeah, and
looking
again,
forward to him.
they left tons of characters out of this arc as
I'm sure they
well
did.
as
Yeah.
as like I said for Marineford, they
One
left.
Piece is so many characters. I just watching the first 20 episodes, I've met so many. Django, the hypnotist of the Black Cat Pirates, which by the way, he is referenced in a side quest, and I'm like, finally something I know about. I got so excited because I'm like, I know who Django is. So many great
Can
characters
I
in
just say
this anime.
it's a crime? Bucky or the what's his name? Bucky? His name Bucky the Clown?
Buggy?
Buggy the Clown. Thank you. I don't know why I said Bucky.
I don't know why I know that, Kevin. Why do I know that? It's Buggy.
Buggy the Clown. I couldn't think
Yeah.
of Buggy the Clown is not in this game. Why? Why is he not in the
I
game?
always hear people talk about Buggy the Clown. They love him.
Have you not? You've met Buggy the Clown?
No, I don't know who
No,
Buggy is. No.
I feel like he's like
I
episode
just
4.
finished like the syrup arc, the syrup village arc or whatever. Maybe I did, and I just don't remember the first couple episodes because I watched them like way like 6 months ago. I just started picking it up again at like episode 11 or something.
Yeah, well, Buggy is a recurring character, and I would have liked to see him in this game, so even just for comic relief at some point, like a little joke
Yeah.
character. But we're done with the memories now. We get back.
Mhm.
Turns out, Audio, who was clearly the villain the whole time,
Shocker.
was the villain the whole time.
Wow.
He's been playing us. Turns out he needed us to beat the Colossi to unleash his divine breath secret world destroying weapon. And then we go then he kills Lim, which is messed up.
Kills air quote.
Kills. Yeah, she's not a real person, turns out.
Well, no, he purposely missed her vitals. I mean, that's explained later on because
Yeah.
he does have an attachment to her. And I think it's important to explain his backstory. So Audio is from the Sky people. What do you call the clan? Like the Sky Clan or whatever. Basically, Wofford used to float in the sky,
Yeah.
like above the clouds, right? His family, his ancestors are part of that, and like a trillion billion years ago, this thing collapsed into the sea. And he's one of the last remaining of that clan, and he's basically trying to restore the glory of his people and destroy basically the world government and everything around it. To try and bring his clan back to that island and regain their former glory. So he has a lot of issues that he has to work through, and it's tough because you do understand his character and his motivations for it because him and his family have been so wronged. And really cool, after you're done with the whole game, you meet his sister and her daughter. There's like a secret quest that you can find in Dressrosa. You basically go to Dressrosa and they talk about like, oh my god, Audio's still alive, blah blah blah. And you have to basically go and help out his niece find this stone that helps her with this respiratory illness that she has. And it's just a really touching moment with these characters that you've gotten to know. That was like the only part in the game that I felt, misty eyed, was because I knew audio and I knew this story.
Yeah.
So I had attachment to these characters. So meeting his family later on in Dressrosa was really, really cool.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't do that side quest.
Yeah.
Spoilers. But he I liked him. I thought he was fine. He was kind of, he wasn't one note, which I think is positive. Like he
Mhm.
wasn't I'm evil just to be evil. Like he was like, I was wronged. I want revenge.
Right.
But also like I do care about some people. And I thought the ending was awesome. Like the battles with the
It was.
divine breath, very cool, very beautiful to look at. You had Luffy and him fighting on the shoreline. It was really cool, really well
Yep.
done. And then he kind of has a change of heart at the end and is like, okay, I'm leaving to make my own journey now and try to figure
Yep.
out my path in this world. So uh I'm glad we didn't end up killing him like a lot of
Yep.
a lot
I
of
am too.
antagonists happen, but it does leave the door open for like a sequel or something like that. So and Lim gets resurrected and then she gets a clone, right? She gets a sister
I
clone.
I
It's not
think
a
it's not a
clone
clone,
clone.
it's
It's
just a different entity of
yes.
this
That just
creature.
looks like her.
Yeah, it has a different thought process, different memories and everything. That's a different person, basically. Same looking, but
So then they're gonna live on the island together forever.
yep. And then there's some cool moments where you just run around endlessly, like we were talking about earlier that we don't like. You basically get your crew together, and there's a really touching sort of ending scene where you all get in the ship and sail off into the sunset while waving goodbye to Lim. You get to see all the characters on the deck and yelling out and just being friendly one more time. I mean, it was actually kind of tough watching them leave because I'm like, oh, I'm not playing this. I finished it. It's over. It's so sad.
I think the perfect I would have liked that scene better if they did what they did with Vivi and Alabasta and had an X on her arm and they like held it up, you know.
Oh, the end of the Alabasta arc when they
Yeah,
were
it would have been
yeah,
it would have been full circle if they put an X on Lim's
yeah.
arm and then had her like, "Oh, you're an honorary Straw Hat."
By the way, the burning of the Mary got me when they had to burn the Mary. I was crushed, and I'm like, I know
You
this
ain't
is gonna
even
hit.
seen the Mary that
I
long.
know, but I was so sad when the Mary's like, "Thank you for the last adventure," or something, whatever it said, and I'm just like, "Why is this ship talking?" But also, this is so sad. Oh,
Oh,
funny.
that's great. That's great. Well, that's how One Piece Odyssey ends. Ethan, do you have any closing comments before we wrap it up here?
Oh, just a great game, man. What a great way to start the year for me. Just playing a game that's out of my comfort zone and it really just clicking with me. I had a blast. I can't wait to just absorb more One Piece content. I think if you're a fan of the show, this is a must play. You got to play it.
I absolutely agree. If you're a fan of the show, go and you've seen everything I've just said. I didn't spoil the show for you. I don't know why you're here. First of all, you haven't played the game yet, but when you do play the game and then you've watched this, let us know your thoughts down below. But until next time, on behalf of Save the Game Media, thanks for watching. We'll see you for another review spoilercast discussion. Goodbye.
Peace.